The WNBA just handed Caitlin Clark her toughest playoff test yet, and fans are furious. Some are calling it incompetence, others are flat out calling it corruption. Imagine fighting all season to drag your team into the playoffs, breaking records, packing arenas, and putting women's basketball on the map, only to face not just your opponent on the court, but also the officials themselves. That's exactly the storm Clark and the Indiana Fever are walking into. And it's not just a minor controversy, and it's the kind of mess that makes fans question whether the league actually wants fairness or if something darker is going on behind the scenes. But to understand why fans are this angry, we need to rewind. There was one play, one moment, that set off an avalanche of outrage. And from there, the story only gets uglier. It started with a single steal. Late in the game between the Lynx and Mercury, Nefessa Collier was dribbling down the court, pushing to keep her team alive. Alyssa Thomas reached across her body, swiped the ball clean, and sprinted for a layup that sealed the game. At first glance, it looked like a clean defensive masterpiece, but slow the tape down and the debate explodes. Yes, Thomas got ball first. Yes, her hand clearly tapped it away. But look closer at the angle. Collier is sprinting in one direction. Thomas is cutting across from another. Their bodies collide. Collier stumbles. She limps away in pain. And somehow, no foul. The whistle stays silent. Fans flooded social media with freeze frames and replays, arguing both sides. Some insisted Thomas made a perfect play. Others swore it was an obvious foul. But here's the kicker. It wasn't just one play. It was the tone of the entire game. Phoenix played rough, Collier got hammered repeatedly, and the refs swallowed their whistles. And then came the explosion that took this from a bad call to a full-blown scandal. Minnesota coach Cheryl Reeve has been around this league long enough to know when officiating is sloppy. But what she saw that night was more than sloppy. It was reckless. She watched her star player limp off the court after getting beaten down with no protection. She saw her team fight for rebounds, get hacked in the paint, and still be denied fair calls. And she'd had enough. Reeve went nuclear. She screamed at referees. She called them out in her post-game press conference. She told anyone listening that this kind of let-them-play physicality wasn't basketball, it was dangerous. The league's response? Suspend her, fine her. Punish her assistants too. Instead of addressing the glaring inconsistency, the WNBA silenced the criticism. Fans saw the message loud and clear. The refs are untouchable, and coaches who speak up will be punished. And that decision planted a seed of suspicion. If the league is willing to protect refs this aggressively, what else might they be willing to overlook? Fast forward to the Indiana Fever. Despite stretches without Caitlin Clark due to injury, despite constant physical targeting, the Fever clawed their way into the playoffs. Aaliyah Boston anchored the paint. Kelsey Mitchell lit up defenses. Lexi Hull fought through pain. And Clark, the face of the league's new era, carried them into the national spotlight. Every game became an event. Arenas sold out across the country. Ratings spiked to record levels. Merchandise flew off shelves. Suddenly, the WNBA was mainstream conversation. The Fever weren't just another playoff team, they were the lifeline of the league's growth. So how did the WNBA reward them? By assigning the exact same referee crew that had just embarrassed the league in the Lynx Mercury disaster. Isaac Barnett, Randy Richardson, and Jana, the trio fans already despised, were handed the whistle for Clark's biggest stage yet. Fans immediately erupted. "This isn't just tone-deaf," one comment read. "It's malpractice." Let's break down this trio because fans know them by name for a reason. Isaac Barnett has a reputation for quick technical fouls. A player claps her hands after a missed call. Tech. A coach questions too loudly. Tech. Barnett doesn't de-escalate, he escalates. And in playoff basketball, when emotions run high, that's a recipe for chaos. Randy Richardson is the opposite. Inconsistent to the point of comedy. One possession, he'll call the lightest touch as a foul. The next possession, a player gets body checked into the stanchion and nothing. Players can't adjust, coaches can't strategize, and fans feel like the game is being decided at random. And then there's Jana. Fans call her invisible, because when games get physical, she vanishes. She lets things go, hoping the chaos sorts itself out, but it never does. It just rewards the more aggressive team and punishes players who rely on skill. This was the crew chosen to oversee Clark. Boston and Mitchell as they faced the reigning champs, Aja Wilson, Jackie Young, and Chelsea Gray. The stakes couldn't have been higher. and the league handed the whistle to its most distrusted crew. Now let's talk about Vegas. The Aces are the WNBA's golden child. The franchise has everything the league dreams of: star power, a flashy city, celebrity ownership, and back-to-back titles. They're marketable, they're glamorous, and they represent stability for sponsors. So when fans see controversial calls piling up in the Aces' favor, they don't think coincidence. They think favoritism. And the assignment of this referee crew only confirmed their suspicions. Think about it. If you wanted to tilt the game toward Vegas without being obvious, what would you do? You'd assign refs who let physical play slide, refs who swallow whistles when the game gets rough, refs who punish coaches for speaking out. That's exactly the crew that showed up for the Fever series. And when the Aces thrive on physicality, who benefits? It doesn't take a conspiracy theorist to do the math. Here's the brutal irony. Caitlin Clark is the reason ratings are soaring. She's the reason arenas are sold out. She's the one driving merchandise sales and sponsorship deals. She is, without exaggeration, the most valuable player to the league's business. And yet, she's been hacked, shoved, elbowed, and tripped all season with barely a whistle. Fans have watched in disbelief as she takes shot after shot, hits the floor, gets up, and just keeps going. Instead of protecting her, refs seem determined to prove they won't give her special treatment. But fairness isn't special treatment. It's the baseline expectation. And when fans see Clark denied it while stars on other teams get soft calls, the frustration explodes. Social media is full of clips. Clark driving to the rim, hammered across the arm, no whistle. Clark tripped off the ball and play on. Clark bodied midair and out of bounds, nothing. Meanwhile, her opponents breathe on defense and the whistle blows. For fans, this isn't just bad officiating. It feels like sabotage. This is where it gets loud. Fans aren't sitting quietly. They're flooding Twitter, TikTok, Instagram with posts calling the league rigged and corrupt. They're posting side-by-side comparisons of calls Clark didn't get versus calls other stars did. They're spamming league posts with comments demanding accountability, and it's not just Fever fans. Liberty fans, Lynx fans, even some Aces fans are admitting the officiating looks bad. Rival coaches like Becky Hammon have openly criticized how physicality is being allowed to spiral. When even the league's golden franchise is frustrated, you know it's bigger than one team. The message is clear. The audience isn't buying what the league is selling. And once fans stop believing in fairness, the whole product collapses. This is the part that stings. The WNBA has been riding a wave of growth unlike anything in its history. Ratings are up. Attendance is up. Merchandise sales are skyrocketing. For the first time, casual fans are tuning in consistently, and instead of fueling that momentum with fair, competitive basketball, the league has let officiating dominate the headlines. Instead of talking about Clark versus Wilson, Boston versus Young, Mitchell versus Gray, everyone is talking about the refs. Compare this to other leagues. The NBA issues last 2-minute reports to admit mistakes. The NFL rotates crews to avoid conflicts. Even when fans complain, there's at least a sense of accountability. The WNBA? They recycle the same refs who just blew critical games. It looks amateur, unprofessional, and worse. It looks intentional. And here's the danger. Once fans believe outcomes are manipulated, they stop watching. And once they stop watching, sponsors stop paying. That's the slippery slope the WNBA is on. This series should have been epic. Caitlin Clark, the rising superstar. Aja Wilson, the reigning MVP, Boston battling in the paint. Mitchell cooking on the perimeter. Two teams clashing for a finals spot with history on the line. Instead, the storyline is the refs. Every whistle will be dissected. Every no call will spark outrage. Every foul will be labeled favoritism. Fans won't just be watching the game, they'll be watching the officials. And if the outcome feels influenced, the damage will last far beyond one playoff run. The WNBA's credibility is on the line. Assigning this referee crew wasn't just a mistake. It was a betrayal. A betrayal of the players who deserve fair competition. A betrayal of the fans who deserve honest entertainment. And a betrayal of the league's own promise to grow the game. Because you don't grow by silencing coaches. You don't grow by ignoring fans. And you don't grow by sabotaging your own stars. The Fever fought their way into contention against all odds. The Aces are a dynasty with everything to prove. This should have been the matchup of the year. Instead, it's a referendum on whether the WNBA values credibility more than convenience. Fans have spoken. They want accountability. They want fairness. When a scandal brews in sports, the media becomes the battlefield. In Caitlin Clark's case, mainstream outlets tread carefully. Some highlight the officiating inconsistencies, but quickly pivot back to praising the aces or framing Clark as too emotional. Others amplify the viral clips without questioning the system. Why? Because access matters. Journalists who push too hard risk losing interviews, press credentials, or cooperation from the league. That's how narrative control works. Instead of shining light on unfair officiating, networks package the controversy as just part of the game. But fans aren't fooled. Independent creators, YouTubers, and podcasters are breaking down footage frame by frame, exposing the double standards. Their videos rack up millions of views, proving the audience craves transparency. Ironically, the very people the WNBA wants to keep quiet are the ones fueling its biggest surge in online attention. Refereeing isn't just about enforcing rules. It's about shaping the mental flow of the game. When Caitlin Clark drives to the basket and gets hacked with no whistle, frustration builds. When she reacts and gets a technical foul, anger turns into helplessness. Over time, that doesn't just impact her, it infects the whole team. Aaliyah Boston has openly admitted how draining it is to feel like the paint is a war zone with no protection. Guards like Kelsey Mitchell start hesitating, wondering if it's even worth attacking the rim. And Clark, the emotional leader, shoulders the weight of being the league's biggest star while feeling systematically targeted. This isn't just physical, it's psychological warfare. Players start second-guessing themselves, losing focus, and carrying stress into every possession. And once the mental edge cracks, talent alone isn't enough to win. Let's be real, sports leagues follow the money. The WNBA is no different. Sponsorships are flowing in like never before thanks to Caitlin Clark's arrival. Nike, Wilson, Gatorade, they all see dollar signs in her brand. But here's the contradiction. If Clark is the league's golden goose, why risk tarnishing her rise with scandalous officiating? The answer lies in balancing power. Vegas represents the safe bet for sponsors. Established stars like Aja Wilson and Chelsea Gray are proven winners, reliable faces of the league. Clark represents chaos, a rocket of popularity that could either elevate the WNBA or overshadow everyone else. By allowing officiating to balance the scales, the league keeps Clark from completely running away with the narrative. From a cynical perspective, it protects other franchises. But from a fan's perspective, it looks like the league is biting the hand that feeds it. This isn't the first time a league has been accused of manipulating outcomes. In the NBA, fans still talk about the 2002 Western Conference Finals between the Lakers and Kings, a series so riddled with questionable calls that former referee Tim Donaghy later claimed it was rigged. The NFL faces constant accusations of favoring marquee teams in the playoffs. Even international soccer has had referees exposed for match fixing. The WNBA isn't immune. In past seasons, players like Diana Taurasi and Sue Bird openly clashed with officials over bias. But never before has the microscope been this sharp. With social media dissecting every second, the league can't hide mistakes the way it could in the 2000s. Every bad call is clipped, shared, and debated in real time. The Caitlin Clark era is forcing the WNBA to choose, evolve with transparency, or drown in suspicion. Fans aren't just complaining. They're offering solutions. Rotate referee crews to avoid conflicts of interest. Introduce accountability reports like the NBA's last 2-minute reviews. Use technology, replay, tracking data, transparency in decision-making to ensure consistency. Most importantly, the league must protect its stars. Not just Caitlin Clark, but every player putting their body on the line. That doesn't mean giving them unfair calls. It means enforcing the rules evenly so that skill, not brute force, determines the winner. Because here's the truth. If the WNBA wants to grow, it needs trust. Fans need to believe what they're watching is real, unscripted competition. Players need to feel they're competing on a level playing field. Sponsors need confidence the league isn't flirting with scandal. Until then, every playoff whistle will be a question mark. And every fan will ask, is this basketball or business dressed up as basketball?